So welcome to the fourth in the series of webinars that the MTE partnership is offering this spring, outlining the work of the various research action clusters and working groups of the MTE partnership. Today's webinar is addressing the work of the Clinical Experiences Research Action Cluster, and it will be presented by Marilyn Strutchens at Auburn University, Ruth May Sears, University of South Florida, and Jeremy Zelkowski at the University of Alabama. And we're pleased to have you join us, either live or later. Just in terms of background to keep things organized a little bit, we are muting all participants. If you wish to communicate, please use the chat icon in the bottom toolbar. Basically, I don't think there's a big crowd, so you can just enter anything you want into the chat. In terms of either technical problems, or if you have questions or comments that you would like addressed, that would be great as well. We'll be monitoring that throughout the talk. So with that, I will turn it over to the CERAC team.
Okay. Hi, this is Marilyn Strutchens. Our goals for the MTEP webinar series are to provide a brief overview of the Math Teacher Education Partnership, to learn more about the Clinical Experiences Research Action Cluster, including its aim, drivers, and current activities, to learn about opportunities to become involved in the work of the Clinical Experiences Research Action Cluster, and to explore connections between the work of the Clinical Experiences Research Action Cluster and other activities of the Math Teacher Education Partnership. The problem. The United States faces a continuing shortage of well-prepared secondary mathematics teachers, among the worst of any subject. Nearly 1 in 7 beginning mathematics teachers leave the profession after their first year. The quality of teacher preparation, particularly related to pedagogical practice, significantly impacts new teacher attrition. Organized by the Association of Public and Land-Grant Universities, the Math Teacher Education Partnership consists of 40 partnership teams that include an APLU institution as the lead, at least one K-12 district, and at least one other organization. Teams must demonstrate involvement of mathematics teacher educators, mathematicians, and K-12 educators. And you can see on the map, the blue states represents where we are located and where we have partnership teams. We are a network improvement community, and so we use the design principles of a NIC. Number 1 is focused on a common aim, and our aim is increasing the number and quality of mathematics teacher candidates. And then number 2, guided by deep problem analysis. We base our work on our guiding principles for secondary mathematics teacher preparation and the Association of Mathematics Teacher Educators Standards for Preparing Teachers of Mathematics. And then the third principle is discipline inquiry based on continuous improvement. We use plan, do, study, act cycles to help ramp up our work and to help us see improvement over time. And then we are a network to accelerate progress. When we have multiple sites focusing on the same problem, we can accelerate the improvement of the improvement towards solving the problem. This is the Math Teacher Education's partnerships, driver diagram, and aim. Our aim is creating a gold standard to document that graduates are capable of providing the ambitious instruction and deep learning compelled by the Common Core State Standards for Mathematics and other college and career-ready standards. Also, more and better new teachers. Our goal is to increase the number of graduating secondary mathematics teachers with an emphasis on increasing diversity. Our primary drivers are creating a vision, a common vision of and commitment to secondary mathematics teacher preparation among stakeholders. To improve clinical preparation by developing and supporting mentor teachers who can provide field experiences that support candidates' development of instructional practice. Increasing content knowledge, developing candidates' knowledge of mathematics needed to support student learning of content and practice. And finally, improving recruitment and retention by attracting and maintaining an adequate supply of candidates. And as you can see, our secondary drivers, we have 5 research action clusters addressing different issues and 2 working groups, which will all have separate webinars. Also, I want to announce the Math Teacher Education's Partnerships Annual Conference, which will be held June 23rd through 25th, 2019 in St. Louis, Missouri. And for more information, you can visit the link shown here. And also we want to note that the conference is intended for persons who are actively engaged in the Math Teacher Education Partnership or who are affiliated with an institution engaged in the Math Teacher Education Partnership. Participation by visitors is by permission only. And so if you're really interested and you're not a participant already in the partnership, please contact Dr. Gary Martin, and his information will be shown at the end of the webinar. Now moving into our research action cluster. The Clinical Experience Research Action Cluster is a consortium of 26 university and their school partners engaged in developing clinical experience models designed to build candidates' facility with the mathematics teaching practices and other equitable teaching practices to promote secondary school students' success in achieving college and career-ready standards. We are subdivided into 3 sub-racks, including methods, paired placement, and co-planning and co-teaching. What is the problem? Teacher preparation programs face significant challenges in providing secondary mathematics teacher candidates with quality clinical experiences. The problem is twofold. There is an inadequate supply of quality mentor teachers to oversee the experiences. This is related to the quantity of teachers who are well-versed in implementing the Common Core State Standards, especially embedding the standards for mathematical practice into their teaching of content standards on a daily basis. Also, there is a need for a bidirectional relationship between teacher preparation programs and their school partners in which clinical experiences take place. As with our partnership team as a whole, the Clinical Experiences Research Action Cluster has an aim and a driver's diagram. Our aim is during student teaching, teacher candidates will use each of the 8 mathematics teaching practices at least once a week during full-time teaching. And we have primary drivers in place to help prepare the teacher candidates along the continuum from methods through student teaching. Our first primary driver is transparent and coherent system of mentor selection and support, in which organized mentor selection and support around deepening expertise with math content, math standards, and mathematics teaching practices and mentoring strategies. Our second driver is interdependency, a methods course and early field experience, which have structured methods course assignments with the focus on the mathematics teaching practices and the Common Core State Standards for Mathematics, such as they include engagement of mentor teachers. We really feel that it's important to have that connection among mentor teachers and higher education faculty during the methods courses. Then also our third driver is student teaching as clinical training. In this, to ensure the requirements for student teaching and feedback during student teaching, which emphasize the responsibility of teacher candidates to advance mathematics learning among secondary students through collaboration with more expert mentors in use of the mathematics teaching practices. And then also, our fourth driver is a shared vision about teacher development. We would like to ensure mutual agreement among districts and the universities about what quality teaching of secondary mathematics looks like and how to further skills of all teachers, including teacher candidates, and see mentor teaching as a part of a career ladder. And then finally, our fifth driver focuses on access and equity. We would like to disrupt the long-standing teaching practices that contribute to inequities in learning outcomes of students. And we have secondary drivers and change ideas that are helping us to achieve the goals of our primary drivers. Now I'd just like to share with you some of our key RAC activities and findings. In 2017, we received a collaborative research grant from the National Science Foundation's IUSE program. And the name of our grant is Collaborative Research, Attaining Excellence in Secondary Mathematics Clinical Experiences with a Lens on Equity. Our research question is, how does a continuum of collaborative and student-focused clinical experiences, including co-planning, co-teaching, and paired placement fieldwork models, impact pre-service teachers' equitable implementation of the mathematics teaching practices across institutional context? We also have 2 chapters in the Handbook of Research on Field-Based Teacher Education, edited by Tommy Hodges and Angela Baum. And then we have a section in the upcoming Math Teacher Education Partnership Monograph, sponsored by the Association of Mathematics Teacher Educators and Information Age Publishing. And we get a lot of our work done through face-to-face meetings and online conference calls as a RAC. Next, what we have for you is specific information about each of our sub-RACs, and these will be given to you, will be presented to you by the sub-RAC leaders. We'll start with Jeremy Zelkowski with the Methods sub-RAC.
Good evening. So the Methods Clinical Experience sub-RAC has focused our work on improving, integrating, and engaging mentor teachers into the mathematics teacher preparation programs beyond their opening of the classroom to just host teacher candidates. We look prior to student teaching to engage our mentor teachers while teacher candidates are enrolled in methods courses. The 3 modules are in various stages, which I'll elaborate on here more specifically shortly. The idea of each module focuses on taking 3 areas of importance to teacher candidate preparation: the standards for mathematical practice, lesson planning while considering the mathematics teaching practices, and assessment via feedback in our third module's case. This is an overgeneralization essentially, but each module has the approach to explore some overarching content by methods instructors to begin to have teacher candidates learn about the content and explore potential beliefs that they may have that are unproductive or possibly with biases. So activity generally aims to have a stronger understanding of an eventual product that the teacher candidates will then engage the classroom or mentor teacher in the field. Has taken the notion that to improve clinical experiences within our RAC, our Research Action Cluster's driver diagram, we must engage mentor teachers more so to tie university coursework, expectations of our teacher candidates in the field, and mentoring from our teacher mentors out in the field, making that more seamless and easy understanding between all partners. This does not come easy in many places. So here are some of the descriptions of the modules of the works that we have done. So our initial work years ago began with the standards for mathematical practice as it became a heavy focus in the United States with the implementation of Common Core in many states. Teacher candidates, but also mentor teachers on these standards for mathematical practice, we determined to be our primary focus initially. The module has been finished now for about 1.5 years. Overall, learned during the development and impacts on teacher candidates' understanding of the standards for math practice, but more importantly, through a pre-post survey, mentor teachers who were hosting teacher candidates and engaged in this model showed improved views with respect to the mathematics teaching practices. On this work, Marilyn had just mentioned that Jan Yao and colleagues, the chapter in the Handbook for Research on Clinical Experiences, there's actually a lot richer about the findings in that book with regards to this module. There's some additional information that will come out about this first module in the AMTE sponsored book for the Math Teacher Education Partnership this year. Dan Yao at South Carolina or myself at the University of Alabama, you can reach out to us regarding this module as we are trying to maintain who is using it, but also in what manner and types of setting the program, type and setting of programs while we study how it's being implemented. The second module focuses on lesson planning specifically, but in thinking in terms of how the standards for mathematics practice come alive for students in the classroom while focusing on the mathematics teaching practices that teachers use to facilitate those practices, the math practices. The first activity exposes some preconceived beliefs about lesson planning for early their programs or their methods courses. It's focused on an 8th grade or Algebra 1 topic area. It exposes ideas around teaching by example, only to set up a major revision in the second activity of the module, in which methods instructors will give specific what they would normally do in their methods courses. So activity 1 and activity 2 are not back-to-back. There's at least weeks or class periods between that where the methods instructor does what they would normally do with respect to lesson planning and preparing for lesson planning. Completed a revision within that activity 2 after the instruction. Teacher candidates then engage the mentor teacher in a co-planning of a lesson that's to be enacted, in which the mentor teacher then evaluates the teacher candidate's implementation with the mathematics classroom observation protocol, and then the teacher candidate discusses the results with their mentor teacher. Our initial findings with the original authors of this module indicate mentor teachers have a better understanding of the mathematics teaching practices and what teacher candidates are expected to demonstrate during formal observations of their program supervisors or faculty. We have also found keeping the ideas central to the standards for math practice and the mathematics teaching practices, teacher candidates have delivered stronger lessons through the evaluations with the MCOP, the Mathematics Classroom Observation Protocol, given our teachers now have a better understanding of what teacher candidates' expectations are. We are currently in our second revision of the PDSA cycles, and we expect that revision for a 2019 fall semester rollout. If anyone's interested with respect to that module, you can reach out to myself, Jeremy Zelkowski, or Patrice Waller at Cal State Fullerton for information. And if you do wish to roll this out in the summer, our current edition we will provide to you. Third module is our most recent module under creation, and it is in its first year of the PDSA cycle development, and it is on providing feedback to students through assessments, whether formative or summative, that are geared towards improving student trajectories, mathematical learning goals. We recognize a need across various partners in our sub-RAC with respect to this component on the EdTPA portfolio assessment, but more importantly, to engage mentor teachers in such an activity for their own professional development. We're currently finishing phase 1, which is a local or a small level pilot, where in phase 2 this coming academic year, we will provide a wider pilot across more programs. Activity 1 explores student experiences with feedback themselves and then begins to define quality feedback. Activity 2 then sets the stage for an assessment to be administered in a classroom to engage the mentor teacher with respect to the third activity, which is actually implementing the feedback strategies into the classroom with the students' materials that they've submitted on the assessment. We have early findings that indicate that teacher candidates revealed little knowledge of any structured strategies for providing feedback from their own experiences with respect to the mathematical goals of any particular assessment that they've had completed. Closing, I'd like to recap. We list here these 3 modules that are in the development or implementation stage or in completion stage, but we welcome MTEP members or teams to consider whether there is an additional module idea that would fit in a methods course that would engage the mentor teachers in the field with our teacher candidates. So if there's an idea about developing a 4th module, we would be willing to look into having a new team join us and lead that development of a 4th module. Currently, Danielle has led most of the standards for math practice module, while myself and Patrice Waller are leading the lesson planning module work. And Belinda Edwards, with support from Mark Ellis, is leading the feedback module, and Belinda is at Kennesaw State and Mark Ellis at Cal State Fullerton. So if you have interest in the feedback module, they would be ones to reach out to. That is all, and Ruth May Sears will now shift to the co-planning, co-teaching sub-rack.
Good afternoon, everyone. The co-planning, co-teaching sub-rack, it really builds on the work of special education that focuses on the co-teaching to support diverse learners and also provide equitable opportunities in multiple facets. However, considering the work in special co-teaching is limited to the special ed and elementary, our goal is to scale up the literature to address it within the secondary mathematics inclusive classroom settings. Now, research have found that co-teaching has been beneficial to students from classroom management, increased collaboration opportunities, students exhibited better curriculum knowledge. Additionally, it provided opportunities for teachers to grow as scholars themselves. There are 6 strategies, the co-teaching strategies that we emphasize in our modules and our trainings and our efforts. The first one, teach, one, observe, in which one teacher leads instruction while the other teacher gathers specific information. The one teach, one assist, where one teacher works with the whole class while the other assists individual students or groups of students. Station teaching, students divided into 3 or more groups, and students rotate through multiple stations, so the teacher facilitates individual stations or circulate among the stations. The parallel teaching, each teacher takes half of the class. The group may be doing the same or different content in the same or different way, but the groups do not switch during the instruction. Alternative teaching is when one teacher works with large groups of students other than the teacher they work with and the smaller group. So they reteach, they pre-teach, or they use enrichment opportunities. While team teaching, both teachers present at the same time, and this may take the form of debates, modeling information, comparing and contrasting, or even utilizing role-playing. Now, based on what we've found thus far, it has actually rather productive in the sense it actually promotes a culture of respect. It provides opportunities to give more individualized attention. Additionally, too, it provides a voice for the pre-service teachers to be teachers from the onset. Now, co-teaching is not void without co-planning, because you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We acknowledge that without co-planning, teachers are going to be challenged to conceptualize how would they actually enact the co-teaching. So this framework was actually conceptualized by the team at the University of East Carolina. So it's Charity, Caden, and Maureen Grady, as well as the other math educators at ECU, who helped to conceptualize the co-planning framework in which we adhere to. The one plan, one assist is when each co-teacher brings a portion of the lesson, although one clearly has the main responsibility. The team work jointly in finding planning efforts. The partner planning is when co-teachers take responsibility for about half of the components of the lesson, and then they complete the plan collaboratively. One reflect, one plans. So one teacher thinks aloud about the main part of the lesson, and the other teacher writes the plan. One plan, one reacts. So one co-teacher and the other make suggestions for improvement. The parallel planning, each member of the co-teaching team develops a lesson, and the two of them bring the ideas together. And team planning, both teachers actively plan at the same time and in the same space with no clear distinction as who take the leadership. Now, this is very important because as we train our pre-service teachers, we saw the need to help them think about how do they engage in structured conversation to consider means to enhance the quality of the lesson. Hence, co-planning provides them an avenue in which they can communicate with their collaborating teacher as to their ideas and also how they feel they should enact the lesson. So this provides an opportunity to think about the nature of the orchestrated discourse, the nature of assessment, teachers' action, and ultimately learning goals and learning preferred outcomes. So what we've found is that most collaborative pairs find it very valuable. However, due to time constraints, they're very limited in the amount of time they actually allocate to planning. Additionally, due to the pressures of external assessments, the nature of what they attend to can vary pending the institutional context. So thus far, the co-planning and co-teaching sub-RAC have engaged in multiple professional development initiatives via physical as well as online modules. The online modules are available on the University of South Florida CREAM, so that's the Center for Research, Evaluation, Assessment, and Measurement website relative to the grant for the collaborative efforts of attaining excellence in secondary mathematics clinical experiences. Additionally, too, we refine mathematics programs to increase the attention we place on clinical experiences, particularly with an attention to equity. This effort, based on the collaborative work of co-planning and co-teaching, provided a structured means to support the students, taking into account the AMT standards as well as the CAPE standards. Additionally, too, our goal is to use data to inform our efforts. So we constantly reflect on means to gather data at institution, share across institution, and think about how to enhance our institution. Thus, we collect data via multiple facets: the MCORP2, just-in-time survey, teacher artifacts, the co-planning and co-teaching checklist, the math teaching practices survey, as well as the exit survey. Additionally, the members of the team are committed to participating in a monthly online meeting in which they gain insights from the network improvement community of means to support the implementation of co-planning and co-teaching within their mathematics teacher education program. It also provides an avenue to gain insight into the complexity and challenges faced relative to transformational efforts to support clinical experiences. Hence, the online conversation gives insight as to how to move your field forward, taking into account the uniqueness of your institution, as well as thinking globally across institutions. The team has also worked collaboratively in disseminating their work at national math meetings, in a book chapter, as well as an AMT monograph, as Marilyn has stated. We also are currently exploring a possibility of making a focused book focusing on co-planning and co-teaching, potentially at the secondary level. So we can definitely benefit from more parties joining our efforts to advance co-planning and co-teaching within clinical experiences. Particularly, the insight of others can help with documenting programmatic changes relative to the implementation of co-planning and co-teaching. Additionally, we need sites to help us record co-planning and co-teaching in action. Moreover, the feedback, insights, and reflections can help us consider means to promote the sustainability of co-planning and co-teaching in clinical education, math education programs. Finally, we also saw the need to gain insight in measuring the complexity of implementation. Thus, the insight of others can help us move the work forward. Thank you.
And so now I'm back with Marilyn Strutchins. I am back with Pair Placement Clinical Experience CERAC. The Pair Placement CERAC focuses on implementing a student teaching approach in which two prospective teachers are paired with a single mentor teacher, allowing the mentor teacher to provide purposeful coaching and mentoring, and the two teacher candidates to offer each other feedback, mentoring, and support. And we are finding that this model really benefits both the teacher candidates and the mentor teacher. They all suggest that it is a bidirectional relationship and learning opportunity. So just to show you some of our activities, we are developing and refining orientation sections, workshops, resources, and syllabi for implementing the model across different contexts. And our syllabi are flexible enough so that others can take it within their context and modify them in order to implement the model well. We really emphasize the two candidates ramping up fast so that both of them are able to get all of the hours that they need in terms of the student teaching experiences, depending on state codes and other constraints. We've been implementing across multiple sites since 2013. This semester, we're implementing 2 pairs at Auburn University, a pair at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and a pair at Columbus State University. During our implementation, we use PDSA cycles to help us to see how the model is working across the different contexts. And each time we implement the model, we find something else that we can improve upon in terms of implementation. For example, this semester, we have really honed in on our observation tools that we use when one peer is teaching and the other one is assisting. And we've realized that we need to really explicitly put those observations within our syllabi to ensure that they are being used in the manner that we intend for them to be used. And then we also found this year, since some of our sites are beginning to implement EdTPA, the importance of learning from other sites who have already been implementing EdTPA so that the pairs will not conflict with each other when one is videotaping for the EdTPA and other certification assessments. And then also we are collecting and analyzing data using the MCOP2 teacher artifacts, teacher candidate journals, mathematics teaching practices survey, focus groups, and the completer survey from the Math Teacher Education Partnership. We participate in monthly online meetings to gain insight from the network improvement community to further support the implementation of the pair placement model. And then we are disseminating our work through presentations and posters at national meetings and publishing the work through book chapters, proceedings, and journal articles. Our findings, and some of these I've already mentioned, we have found that the model enables teacher candidates to become confident, reflective, collaborative, and caring teachers. And one of the attributes of the model, or one of the things that we have read about from the literature, is that the teacher candidates really begin to focus on their students versus focusing on their own progress as a teacher candidate during the internship. And we have found this to be true, that they focus more on ensuring that their students are really learning the material well. And by having 3 people in the classroom at the same time, they really can hone in on students who have special needs and work with them better. They can also look and examine why some students aren't participating as well as others, and they can change their instruction accordingly, because three eyes are on what's happening in the classroom. The mentor teachers and teacher candidates form professional learning communities within the classroom. And some of the mentor teachers even talk about how they have actually implemented lessons that they normally would not have implemented had they not had the pair in their classroom. And so even the mentor teachers are taking risk in terms of implementing lessons that really engage students at a high level. And then the growth in practice is bidirectional among the candidates and the mentor teachers, as I have stated probably multiple times. But we really see this model as an effective model in terms of the growth of teacher candidates and their mentor teachers. In fact, one mentor teacher said after having the pairs in her classroom during student teaching that she did not want a singleton. And so, because she could really see the benefits of not only her growth, but seeing the benefits of the teacher candidates growing more. And she sees herself as more of a math teacher educator within the environment with two teacher candidates. So within the paired placement, clinical experience research action cluster, we need others willing to implement the model at their institutions using the tools and resources that we have created to collect the data and share findings with us. Are there any questions?
I warned you that I would have a question. So this is a major project in and of itself within this bigger project of the MTE partnership. I mean, it's just almost overwhelming, the scope of work that you all have done. So here is my question is, how does this work fit together, or does it fit together? Are these just like different strategies that one might pick from, or is there some sort of an overarching theory or organization that these could fit into? Does that question make sense?
So are you asking whether there are things that go across the research action clusters? How does each of the research action clusters support each other? Is that your question?
Yeah, I was more thinking about, like, if I'm at a university and there's all this stuff that you're doing, is it more like I have to pick which subrac to use, or are there ways that you might draw from multiple subracs? So that's what I'm trying to get to.
I think there are ways that you can draw from multiple subracs. Our goal, as you can see from our research question, is to prepare the teacher candidates across the continuum. So if one person decides that or if a team would like to become a part of the clinical experiences research action cluster, they might start out with the methods group in terms of really making connections between the mentor teacher and the faculty, and then start working more with one of the other two subracs that focus on the student teaching experiences. But they can also use some of the methods from co-planning and co-teaching to help support the work of the paired placement model. So there are a lot of ways that we can become interconnected. Or a person can see how to utilize materials from the different subracs. What do you think, Jeremy and Ruth May?
I concur with Marilyn's recommendation. Additionally, too, the person can benefit from looking at the instruments that are used across the group. For instance, the MCORP2, that is a common instrument. Or they may consider, depending the nature of their program, if they have methods classes, like looking at could they use the lesson plan instrument, or for example, the videos we've made relative to professional development of how to build the co-planning, where you use an apprenticeship model, where you start and you grow that independence over time, and taking into account the work Marilyn knows would have done relative to having two students develop their conceptions of the same space and reflecting on this on the mathematical standards. So the cross conversation based on the nature of the individual structure, it is possible. And I think the beauty of the group is we account for differences within our institutions. And so we're very flexible in how we move forward, taking into account institutional uniqueness while also considering overall growth.
So I would say similarly, being that our sub-RAC focuses on prior to the student teaching semester, I think by engaging mentor teachers while you're in a methods course in some of the activities and modules that we have worked on really would set programs up from a perspective to be a teacher candidates being very receptive or at least well prepared for engaging in co-planning, co-teaching activities or in dual clinical placement experiences in the internship. So I think ours sort of, because it doesn't happen during the internship, it happens prior to that. I think our work sort of sets the stage for the other two sub-RACs to be more effective in what they could accomplish as interns. Otherwise, if you haven't had strong relationships with mentor teachers, you may not feel comfortable enough to do some of those activities as an intern.
Katie, Caden, and Maureen Grady to come to Auburn University to talk about co-planning and co-teaching to teachers and teacher candidates who might participate in the paired placement. And so there is some, I guess, cross-pollination going on within the research action cluster. Does this answer your question?
Yes, that was a very good answer. Thank you. I wish I had another one, but that was the big question I was thinking about as you were presenting.
Okay. So Dr. Ellis, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions. I think you all did a wonderful job with presenting the information.
Let's see. And so this concludes our webinar. Just to give you more information regarding the Math Teacher Education Partnership, this Research Action Cluster and the upcoming Math Teacher Partnership Conference in St. Louis, Missouri from June 23rd through June 25th, 2019. Please log into the MTEP Open Canvas site or contact Dr. W. Gary Martin at martywig@auburn.edu. And then I'm gonna have to minimize this so I can see. And this is just giving you the information again about the Math Teacher Education Partnerships Annual Conference, in case you didn't get it at the beginning of the session.
April had a comment.
So there's a comment?
Yes, April, yes.
Go ahead, Ruth May.
She said, thanks everyone. We'll see you in St. Louis.
Okay. And where's April from?
Oh, April's from Iowa.
Oh, okay. Glad that you were on.
I just have low bandwidth, so to do video and to zoom in and zoom out at the same time, I just have low bandwidth, so.
Do you have any questions for us, April?
No, I kind of feel like you guys set the bar really high, though. I do. I'm like, wow, look at them blowing it. I'm like, there's a book coming? This is exciting.
Theorizing.
Are you a member of a research action cluster, April?
I'm in the Strides rack.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was there like 3 summers ago. I haven't been there for the last 2. So I'm at the Department of Education. So I'm still, this work is of interest, and I feel like you guys helped me to better understand my Institute of Higher Ed, because I didn't have a higher ed background when I came. And so I'm hoping that as a state lead, like, you know, there can be that partnership, and we can, you know, I can be of an asset too. So, I mean, I've learned so much from this group.
Great. Well, we're glad that you're participating on the webinar today, and we hope to see you in Missouri.
Yes, I'm hopeful to be there. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Are there others? I noticed that there were 6 participants. So
yeah, I don't know who else was on, but I think you all did a great job, and it's really almost breathtaking to think about the breadth of work that you all are doing. And I think it's exciting to think about, as things progress, how institutions are going to start weaving a lot of this together. I think it's really going to transform the experiences our teacher candidates have. So thank you for all the great work you're doing.
thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for participating.